Hey, good morning. Welcome in. This is 5 Clubs on Golf Channel on this Tuesday morning. I am Gary Williams, very pleased to have you with us from our home in Charlotte, North Carolina. And tonight, something new enters the ecosystem of golf, and we will talk about that and talk to some people who are very involved in that. But of course, we can't do this without the support of Century Insurance, our title sponsor. It means so much to us that they have aligned themselves with 5 Clubs. And of course, Pinehurst Resort, Peter Millar, and Golf Pride, 3 North Carolina-based companies that we are very proud to have alongside us as we begin 2025 with you. I mentioned TGL, and if you're going, I don't know what that acronym means. Well, it means that the best players in the world are going to get together tonight, and it was a year delayed because of what happened to their facility down there in terms of literally the roof being blown off of it. They hope figuratively that happens again tonight because it's very important, because they have billionaire buy-in and they have the best players in the world, with some few exceptions who are not going to be a part of this, certainly headlined by Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy. But this enterprise is not happening arbitrarily. This is something that I believe that has taken place over the last decade in the game of golf. If you want to go back to drive, chip, and putt, and the optics of kids being seen on the 18th green at Augusta National the Sunday before Masters Week begins. And subsequently from there, think about all the major championship venues that are regional sites for the drive, chip, and putt. Places like Wingfoot and Hazeltine and Oakmont. To think about kids having the chance to go there, because I've always believed that access is inspirational. And we're not necessarily trying to create the next generation of elite golfers. What we're simply trying to do is create the next generation of golfers. So alongside of that comes all these other things. And we already had the foothold of the first tee, but PGA Junior League and PGA Reach, those types of things that have allowed kids a platform to compete together, to not feel the intimidation level of what it means to go out there and go, okay, you've told me over and over again how hard this is, and let's stop with that. Everything is hard. That's why it's so enjoyable when you achieve some level of competency in anything. It ain't easy to hit a baseball. It's not easy to throw a football, let alone catch it. Yes, golf is challenging, but those particular outlets, and then the creation and the proliferation of new media and people that have come together to create smart, funny, clever, irreverent, cerebral content like No Laying Up and the Foreplay Pod and Subpar Podcast and Friday Golf and Good Golf and Bob Does Golf and Dude Perfect and Paige Sporanic. All of those in the aggregate have created this current that now allows this giant shiny vessel, TGL, to enter the space. You know what it's got? It's got tailwind, but that current and that tailwind is only as sustainable as the people who are going to put this on. And knowing a little bit about those people, they're bright people, starting with Mike McCarley, who is the founder of TGL. And to be able to have someone leading production like Jeff Newbarth, who was yelling in my ear for years as a coordinating producer on Morning Drive. I know they're going to have all the bells and whistles. And the last thing, very quickly, wagering. It's become very pervasive, and as long as you're careful, it can be fun. That is another element. All right, how about who's going to lead this on the production side? Who will be the front-facing host? Scott Van Pelt, pretty good choice. He's going to join me next. His thoughts on TGL and also why golf is so important to him. It's nice to have you with us as we begin with you on this Tuesday morning. It's 5 Clubs on Golf Channel. We're back with SVP right after this. Welcome back in. It is 5 Clubs on Golf Channel. Good to have you with us on this Tuesday morning. Tonight, it is a new enterprise, and even they had to wait a year long unexpectedly, but TGL will launch tonight on ESPN. Joining me now, he is the lead host. I don't know if he can add anything more to his plate, but he's going to. That, of course, is Scott Van Pelt. Scott, it's good to see you. Thank you for taking the time. Good morning.
Happy to do it, Gary. I appreciate the opportunity.
You know, it's interesting for somebody who, look, you have so much range, you can do anything you want with respect to, give me a sport, I'll dig in. But your affinity for golf goes all the way back to the infancy of Golf Channel. If you look back 10 years and you saw the proliferation of content creation and YouTube channels devoted to golf, did you see any of this stuff coming?
No, I mean, if I were that clever, we'd both be sitting on a beach somewhere, right? I mean, I think we're all trying to figure out, Gary, where's content going to live? What's it going to look like? And I think, frankly, something like tonight is a great example of smart minds trying to figure out how to take something old, game of golf, marry it to new, the technology that you'll see in SoFi, and bring it to an audience in a place where it hadn't existed before. But no, I don't think any of us necessarily imagined that this is what something might look like. By the way, this is Red, my dog, who's joined us. He's Big Red's in the building.
The interview is made. We can wrap it up now if you want. I mean, Red making a play, strong.
What's interesting, Gary, is that those that are familiar at all with my career, they'll remember I did a thing. I had a dog named Otis that used to sit in that chair all the time, and Otis passed away, and I did a big thing about it on the show. And it connected us to people because you lose a dog, and I think everybody understands. Red's the new guy. I don't know what Red is. Well, Red's just gonna wander. It's fine. It's his joint. I'm just sitting here, man.
When you look at this thing, let's say we reconvene at the end of 2025. People will do the assessments of the impact of TGL based on a lot of quantitative data. How about your own value assessment? At the end of the year, if this thing hits, it'll be primarily because of what?
It's a great question, because I think if people like it and seek it out, and who are the people? Are the traditionalists, are they going to be turned off because it's not what the game of golf was? I don't think so at all. I think they're going to see it. They're going to be wowed by it. But I don't think that we can say just ratings. I mean, that's the obvious in any TV enterprise, right? If it hits and it rates, then that's a winner. But I mean, frankly, there's probably shows that have rated really well. Are they good shows? Maybe not. But if they're hits, then they're hits. It'll be a success, Gary, if people try it and come back to it because they enjoyed what it was. And I believe that they will, because you have real horsepower here in terms of the stars that are going to be in the arena. The fact that it's different because it's not Augusta National, but it's the same because dudes want to win. And it's the same because just like when you're playing with your friends at your muni or your club, you got the hammer in your pocket. You want to throw that down and make this worth a little bit more. I think it'll work because people will identify with what makes the game so much a passion play for so many different people.
I told you this years ago when you came on Morning Drive on Golf Channel about in the infancy of really your career, but primarily at Golf Channel, the long interview you did with Tiger. And you had a flow of lettuce that was legendary. It was magical. Here he is. Yes, here he is at 49, and he's still the stickiest guy in the game of golf. Why does he continue to keep people so captive? And he obviously is a huge part of this.
Because he makes you feel something. He makes you feel. That's the greatest thing about athletics, is they make you feel. They make you feel exhilarated. They make you feel exasperated. They make you feel like, I want this person to succeed, or I want this person not to win. There were people that rooted against Tiger, but I bet to a man or woman, those people that got sick of it were right there sitting on the edge of their seat in 2019 watching him win, because he makes you feel. And for people like me, and the men and women listening, that maybe they're not quite as much up top, or maybe it used to be beautiful and blonde or brown and now it's gray. It takes you back to a younger time, and you saw the guy do something. And you want to see that again. And listen, frankly, the ability to hit the shot, that's still in this man, and it always will be. The issue for him is those injuries have made it so difficult, Gary, for him to get up and down the hills of whatever course over the course of 4 days. That's the hardest part. Well, you're inside a building, man. You're going to take all that out of it. So I think the essence of the man's ability to hit the shots and compete, this affords him that in a very different way. And I think he's always going to make us feel just like the way Mr. Palmer did, just like the way Jack, right? I mean, you never stop feeling something when you saw him. And that's what the greatest men and women in the game have always been able to do. But I think I would say, for me anyway, he's singular in what he connects me to anyway.
You know, Scott, for me, when I think about him, he was so inevitable. So people watched and they consumed, kind of knowing what the result, but there was a jaw-dropping quality to what you were witnessing. And now, call it what you want, Twilight back nine. And I'm not saying that TGL means that people need to pull him over the line, but you mentioned 19. There is a sense of responsibility now for people that maybe he needs a little help, maybe he needs a little assistance. And this emotional investment has transitioned from I'm there because you're singular to now there's a vulnerability to him. Do you buy into that? Because I do.
I've said, and I'll repeat, that I was there in 97, and I was there for a lot of the moments that followed when he was truly Superman, right? And if you'd have told any of us then that someday he's going to be a guy with a bald spot and a fused back and a body that's been broken by injury and accident, and he's going to have his own scar tissue of his own doing, and he'd be the first to tell you from his personal life. If you'd have told any of us that this guy is going to be a sympathetic figure in a sense, his career arc will include you rooting for something of an underdog, no one would ever have believed it. But that's precisely what 19 was, because he's in the middle of it with Brooks and Tony and Molinari and all these people who are in their prime, and he has to figure out how to dodge the arrows, right? And then one goes in the water and another goes in the water, and you're like, oh my gosh, he might do it. And then when he does, and he hugs his children in the same place where he hugged his parents, the symbolism of it all is impossible. And I think that's what made that moment so compelling. So yes, the guy that was once Superman now has the bad back and the bald spot and the scar tissue. And that makes him so much more identifiable than the guy who did things that none of us could relate to.
The technology that's going to be on display, the screen itself, I think that's a big pull. I think people are going to go, wow, there's bells and whistles. But I think your team, the broadcast team, because of the swiftness of this exercise, this is not hit a shot and walk. I think there's a reliance on the voices to carry and weave the threads together. How about the chemistry that is incumbent upon you as the lead host and everybody else to make this thing particularly compelling?
Well, I think I'm more of a scene setter and a greeter, if you will, and Matt Berry, who will be down on the grounds, and Marty Smith, and that crew will be handling things. And then, listen, players are all mic'd up, but I'm always cautious to think that the players are going to carry the commentary. That's not their job. And by the way, not everyone's Lee Trevino. You know, the idea that you've got a mic on and that you're going to be funny and great and let's just lay out and listen to these people carry it. No, they're competing. But you make a great point, Gary. It's going to be faster. You're still going to want to lay out, right? The instinct as a broadcaster is to talk. But any of us that have ever done this know that our director will get in our ear the moment that we hear conversation between player and caddy or whatever, and you just want to shut up because you want to hear them working through the shot. And there will be more give and take. Matt might ask, what is it, like in the midst of a shot? What are you doing here? That's what we always want to know. What are you trying to pull off here? So it's going to be incumbent upon us as a broadcast team, specifically to Matt and Marty there in the building, to help draw out of the competitor the thing that the players, the viewers watching have always wanted to know. But it's going to move more quickly. The technology is astounding. I've not been in the space, but I've been watching all of the practice rounds, if you will, and the warm up. And what I'll be interested to feel is how it changes with the inclusion of people, because it's an incredible space, But during warm-ups, obviously there's no one there. You add the juice of a crowd and the juice of the moment, and all right, now this counts. That's something I haven't seen yet. I'm interested in seeing that. But the game's at the center of it, but the presentation of the game and how the game moves is new and different. And I'm like you and the viewers. I'm interested to see what it looks like and feels like once we start adding it up for real.
You know, your nightly show is very aspirational because you've created a community. You mentioned Otis. You have personalized your journey in broadcasting, which I think is one of the most admirable things to do. You do not do an antiseptic program. You want people to know that you care about things beyond the boundaries of a football field. But I want to ask you specifically about golf because it goes back to the beginning of your broadcast career. There's an affinity you have for this game, which I have to believe is very nourishing for you, and what you do at the Masters and the sun up, the sun down at the PGA Championship. How valuable has this game been to you in your journey?
Man, that's such a sharp, I think, acknowledgement. Like, we don't know each other, but you're spot on. Because listen, I grew up playing basketball and baseball. I was a pretty good athlete. Golf was something that came to me just because I thought like all athletes, there's an arrogance. Like, how hard could this be, right? Like give me, ball's not moving, right? And I wasn't a country club kid. I started playing late in life. And then I had this opportunity with the Golf Channel. And then I meet Mr. Palmer, and a guy that hadn't done it. And I got this chance. And then I meet Tiger. And then my entire life changes. And being immersed in the game, Gary, being exposed to the people in the game, what the game brings out of us, what the game provides us, it has been, my journey does not exist without the game. My journey does not exist without the Golf Channel. And while I do Monday Night Countdown or I do Sports Center, I'm always going to be thankful for the game. And something like tonight is such a cool offshoot because it's still the game, but it's reflective of where we now are in 2025. My God. I mean, it started in 95 when the Golf Channel flipped the switch. I mean, it's a long time. But like the game, if you're lucky, you can have a lifetime of it. And so my journey does not exist without the game. And I appreciate that question because it allows me right now in this moment to reflect on that thought and to think back to the dude with the smooth lettuce and really poor credit that went down to Orlando and somehow carved out a little space in this industry to do this. But I hesitate to and shudder to think of where I'd be without this game.
All right, let me get you out of here. 5 to go. The most reliable food source in an American airport. Do you have a place that you either frequent a lot or infrequently that when you get there you go, I can count on this to go in transit? What is it?
If there's a Chick-fil-A, I'm in line. The problem is it's the longest line. It's the most, for me, it's the most reliable because I know what it is. But what I'll do, Gary, is if there's a name of a burger joint that I don't know what it is, but it must be a regional one, I'm going to try it because it only got into this terminal because it was good. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah, right here in Charlotte, Bad Daddy's Burger Bar. If you were in the C concourse, my friend, that's your spot.
Let's go.
Okay.
Let's go.
All right. The first jersey that you wanted, either you got it, but you just were dying lousy. I don't know if it was Burt Jones. I have no idea. The first jersey SVP wanted, what was it?
Okay, I'm a Washington guy. I root for the Orioles because
right.
there were no Nationals then, but I rooted for, they were then the Redskins, now the Commanders. I had a Charlie Taylor jersey. For those that don't know, Charlie Taylor was a wide receiver. He wore number 42. I had a 42 Charlie Taylor, and I wore that bad boy. It was made, Gary, of some space age. No, actually, not space age. It was some kind of polyester rayon blend that couldn't possibly disintegrate, but I wore it to the point that it did.
Excellent answer. The guy who was in that backfield, I lived in Midlothian, Virginia for a year and a half. It was their Super Bowl year. Larry Brown, who was 43.
Excellent. 43.
Yes.
That's great.
Yes. All right. The book that always will make you laugh if you read a line, a paragraph, a chapter of the whole thing. A book you can count on to make you laugh.
A Confederacy of Dunces. Do you know the book?
I do not.
Okay, check it out.
Okay.
It involves a guy that eats hot. It's lunacy, but Confederacy of Dunces. Check it out.
Okay. All right. The first girl you passed a note to in class, and where is she now?
Oh my gosh. I think Linda Savage was my fifth grade girlfriend because we played volleyball, a tetherball at recess, and I think we were going together. I don't know if she knew that, but I did in my brain.
No idea of her whereabouts now?
No. I'm old. Life has taken us all in places. I have no idea. I hope she's well. I hope she's happy that she dodged this bullet right here.
I actually asked a similar question to Horschel recently. It was actually about who he took to the junior prom. And he said, I had a great time. I don't remember her name. He's not 77. Ooh. He's like 37.
No. Yeah. I think, hey, listen, I think the Billy's wiring, I love talking to him, but it doesn't surprise me. I think Billy's, he's got other things that are at the forefront of his mind at the moment than who he took to the junior prom. Although you should remember that name. I just pulled Linda Savage out of my back pocket, for God's sake.
Very impressive. All right, last thing. The player in the golf space, and I know how all these guys are. They get around you and they're just going to pepper you with questions about every other sport. Who has real depth of knowledge of sports in golf? A
lot of dudes. And I don't want to ramble here because I know this is supposed to be quick and that's not my strength. But I'll just say it this way. What I enjoy the most is when we get to the PGA and I'll see a player. And it's, I always ask, I don't just assume, you mind if I take a walk with you? Because it's great for us. It helps you. The holes that are going to be that I'm calling, I want to walk with them and get an idea what it is. But that's in May. Last year I walked with Brooks Koepka. We talked Florida Panthers. He's real. He's into it. He's not just showing up to hang out in the suite just because he wants people to see him. He wants to watch the guys. He wants to watch the boys. Well, that worked out pretty well. He's a massive sports fan. A guy like JT loves the Tide. A guy like Keith Mitchell loves the Dogs. And the thing that I think helps connect me to these people is not just that I've been in the game for a while. It's that I cover the sports that so many of them consume and are so passionate about. So I guess what I'm saying is, Red is not pleased. The thing I'd say about these guys is that largely, overwhelmingly, they're not just counterfeit Hollywood fans pretending. They're not throwing on a jersey for a photo op. They're in it, man. They love to watch other people compete. But it's a long list. Those are just a few of the names that I'd say. Gary Woodland, by the way, was with the crew walking with Brooks last year, and we talked KU hoops. As you know, that's a great athlete, and he could have been that if he wasn't what he is. And it's just a blast to spend the time. I always say, listen, I appreciate you. I hope I didn't get in the way. And he's like, hell no. It's talking sports for however many hours on the walk kind of takes the air out of the balloon, which is that's kind of a cool thing to hear.
Listen, have a very good show tonight. Thank you for taking the time. Look, we're not even 2 days into this. Red is already top of the food chain. He was behind you there for a moment, and it was almost like a statuesque pose. He looked very stout. He looks very athletic.
He's a 100-pound ball of muscle. I'll just say for anybody, if you're a dog uncertain, should I or shouldn't I, get yourself a Rhodesian Ridgeback. You'll thank me later. They're noble, regal, incredible creatures. I'll miss Otis forever, but my guy Red he's filling in quite capably. Scott, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Gary, all the best, man. It's great to see you in this space. You're fantastic. Thank you. That is Scott Van Pelt. We continue on this Tuesday right here on 5 Clubs on Golf Channel right after this. Welcome back in. It is 5 Clubs on Golf Channel, 31 minutes past the hour. I am Gary Williams. This segment brought to you by Peter Millar, where performance meets luxury. All the way down to this nice little Rooney blazer that I am wearing today. Whatever your needs are, whether you're going to the gym, playing golf, traveling, going out on a night on the town, Peter Millar is the answer for all of your apparel needs. Someone's going to join me here in a couple of minutes who is kind of the soundtrack of so many of our lives. And I was thinking about technology because we just had Scott Van Pelt on.
And tonight's project, that is going to be about technology and these bells and whistles. And you think about advancements. I don't know how any of us could live if we didn't have the first down line in football. Seriously, think about that. Think about if that yellow line didn't exist. How agonizing it would be to watch football. Well, I think about that as it relates to like Pro Tracer. I'm watching this Century the last 4 nights, starting Thursday through Sunday night. And these beautiful drone images from the plantation course at Kapalua, and in particular the 8th hole, the little par 3, you play over the ravine. It's the low point of the property. And I'm seeing the Pro Tracer and I'm thinking, can you imagine life without Pro Tracer? I can't. Can you imagine life without Jim Nantz's voice on a golf broadcast? I can't. Jim Nantz joins me on 5 Clubs on Golf Channel right after this. We are back in. It is 5 Clubs on Golf Channel. It is 36 minutes past the hour. This segment brought to you by Golf Pride. Players at every level trust Golf Pride more than any grip in the game of golf. Joining me now, speaking of trust, when you hear the voice, you know that you're in good hands. It doesn't matter what he's doing. I know he doesn't call the Final Four anymore, but he will go from Denver this past weekend. And this is a little small window we've got him in because he's got to get to Orchard Park and focus in on Wild Card Weekend. But kind enough to join me now is the voice of golf, not only on CBS, but he's the soundtrack of so many of our lives. Jim Nantz, my friend, good morning.
Hello, friend. What a pleasure to be on with you, Gary. And all is right in the golf universe now that you're back on Golf Channel. This is really good, special.
Jim, thank you. You know, I know how you can compartmentalize the things that you're focused on now, which is the National Football League, but I know I can get you to reflect and also project a little bit. When you think back about Scottie and the ride that he gave everybody, and how sustainable this might be, I think he's different in some very particular ways. Can he keep this ride going?
I don't see any near turnaround the other way in sight. I think we're actually just on the front end of this, Gary. There's going to be a long, glorious run for him. I really believe it. He's got the game, he's got the focus, and he's motivated by legacy. You know, legacy is something that, to me, has value. And when you see it in someone, it's special to recognize. It's not about the money. It's not about anything other than trophies and victories. And that will sustain him for a long time.
You know, Jim, I was talking to Scott Van Pelt in the last segment, and I could talk to you about Tiger for days and days about why he's so captivating. What is it about Scheffler as we embark on 2025 and you expect to be calling a number of winning calls of him winning significant golf tournaments? How can he hold an audience? Why should people feel captive to what he's doing?
I think people just eventually come over to the category of greatness, just being mesmerized by greatness. Listen, you can go through the history of golf. There have been a lot of players that were starring, excelling, and it took a while for the public to fully embrace them. Now, I'm not saying that Scottie isn't loved and embraced, but there's another level still to be found because people are going to just recognize what he has, and that is a skill level that could be generational. So I'm not too worried about all those things that people want to talk about, how he's received, how we look at him. He's a great person, and you have to admire not only his game, but what he's motivated by, what I talked about before. Sit back and enjoy and watch somebody who really cares about winning and doing what's best for the game, which I believe is what every one of these players that's out there, they were motivated originally for love of the game, passion of the game, wanting to be great at something. It wasn't about anything other than trying to be great. And too much today in this game is about money. He's the last guy that I see of all who was concerned and motivated by dollars and cents.
You know, I think back One of the great byplays in broadcast history to me was the first big moment that you were thrust into. And it only happened because Nicklaus backed off on 16 and you appealed to Tom Wisoff. And I mention that because the obligation you have to provide historical context to things as they are happening, and then in the aftermath, Rory and Augusta National, if he crosses this Rubicon, give me a sense of what this means for him and historically what it means for the professional game.
Look, I think there are going to be other major championships that are going to fall into the hands of Scottie this year. But we know he's won 2 of the last 3 at Augusta. He's won making it look easy at times. So there's no reason why there aren't more green jackets coming his way. But I appreciate what you said about context. I really feel like people often ask, what does it take to get in this business? And I have a son that wants to be a broadcaster one day, and it's truly, it's not about stats. It's about heartbeat. It's about context. It's about history. And one of the many things that I love about our game is that we care so much about context and history. And all of this has been filed away in my head for a long time, since I was a little boy, knowing the names of the people. I appreciate you just bringing up Tom Wisoff and that epic moment in 1986 as Jack stood on the 16th tee and just coming off eagle at 15. And I was just a few years removed from college and scared out of my wits, trying my best to look like I belonged there and sound like I belonged there. And I brought in Tom Wisoff to help bail me out and get me through a couple of anxious moments. And that back and forth was very special to me for a number of reasons. And it really started a friendship that I had with Tom until we lost him a little more than a year and a half ago. He was, and I idolized him as a kid, as a golfer, and to one day grow up and be a broadcaster with him, and then see life take its course, and one day, in fact, deliver the eulogy at his funeral. It all came, full circle, I guess you could say. And that moment really started that friendship, that relationship, live on the air with one guy who was an experienced Masters player, 4-time runner-up, and one kid who's trying to masquerade like he belongs there.
The CBS golf team, we have a new tradition. You calling golf from Kansas City. We may get it again this year. The transformation of the team, if you look at the faces and the voices over the last couple of years, and you guys have, as somebody who is, watches and consumes it, not just for the performance, but the execution of the broadcast, chemistry. How do you define it?
It's real. That's how I define it. It's authentic. And there's something about, and I'm so proud to be a part of the team. We've had very few leaders through the years. It's like kind of the Pittsburgh Steelers with Noel and Cowher and Tomlin. I mean, we've had Cherkinian, Barrow, and Shai. We've had 3, basically the same time span that we're talking about. The Steelers have had 3 coaches. And it starts with leadership. And, Frank built the model. He set the template about having people interact and all having something a little bit different to say, having different perspectives. But I love my teammates. And I love my teammates of yesteryear, too. It's a very close-knit group. I'm excited to be back with them. We're just a couple of weeks away. You just made the allusion to calling the Farmers Insurance Open from Torrey Pines. I believe this will be the 4th year I call our season premiere of golf from the stadium of the AFC Championship. And, we're going to be on the air Friday night in prime time on CBS, Saturday night with the final round in prime time. And then Sunday we'll call the AFC Championship game. And I'll be there with Tony Romo for that one and Tracy Wolfson, wherever that will be. We don't know. We're about to embark on that playoff journey this weekend, as you said, up in Buffalo. But it's an interesting mix. It's one of the more interesting weeks of my year, is to be sitting in a stadium and calling golf from a couple of thousand miles away in parkas and freezing while you're looking at these glorious sunshiny shots of Southern California, the beach below, and usually a great field contending for one of the better titles on tour.
the range you have, everybody knows it. So to call golf from a football stadium is not surprising. Let's talk about design. We've had very little impact in golf, but maybe one of our great achievements here at Five Clubs is that you being on the maiden voyage with me, Jay Billis, and Gil Hance led to a design consulting gig for you. What have you learned about yourself and in your view of landscapes as you've embarked on this?
Well, I learned I have a lot of knowledge that is still out there to be found. But you're right. I was on your podcast with you and Jay and Gil, and you asked me the question, what would I want to do if I wasn't living my childhood dream? And I said, perfect world, I would love to be in golf course architecture. And an old University of Houston teammate of mine, Mark Hoggeyard, was just entering the process of building his dream design in Minnesota called Tipatonka. And he heard the podcast and he picked up the phone and called and said, I want you to come on board. I know all about these par 3 holes you built in your backyard in Pebble Beach and in Nashville. And I think you can help us. And OCM, led by Jeff Ogilvy, they are going to be designing. By the way, they're incredible.
Yes.
And this course is going to have a soft opening in the summer. Now, it's west of Minneapolis, St. Paul. To give you an idea, I happen to have a prop here. Tipatonka.
Might need that for the studio, Jim.
That's you want this for the studio?
Heck yes.
I see the backdrop. I love it. We'll get one for you. So I've had 4 site visits. Like I said, I'm learning on the fly from some really knowledgeable people. It's going to be gorgeous. It's going to be a national destination course. And that led to having some other small opportunities in golf course design. I owe it all to you, Gary. So here in Nashville, we're going to redo Ted Rhodes Golf Course. This was Ted Rhodes' hometown. We know the historical significance of Ted Rhodes, one of the pioneers of golf in this country for African Americans. And Bruce Hepner is the designer here, and I'm going to be his number 2 on this, a little bit even bigger role. And we're going to make this thing shine and make this something that's a testament to what Ted Rhodes meant to the game of golf. And even my old club up in Greenwich, Connecticut, is working with OCM on a project, the Stanwich Club. And they're going to build a par 3, a short course there. And it's very small roll, but I'm going to have a little bit of, just lend a little bit of what I see. I designed par 3 holes. That's all I can tell you, Gary. And I needed an outlet to tell the world I want to do this, and you provided it. And you know what? It's all good fun. It gets back to that word I talked about before with Scottie Scheffler. It's legacy. To be able to figuratively put your hands in the dirt, sculpt the land, and build something that'll be there for forever. It's really a wonderful gift in my life, and I'm indebted to you for giving me the chance for it to be discovered through you.
Well, let's get you out here. You and I are going to do this in 90 seconds. 5 quick questions to go for Jim Nantz.
Okay.
The food item that if it's not in your pantry, fridge, or freezer, you feel less than whole.
My golf clubs.
That's not a food item.
You're looking for, I didn't know it had to be a food item.
A food item that is in your house that you always have to have.
Water.
Water.
I measure it all day long.
You're the Tom Brady of broadcasters.
I have to have half my body weight in ounces a day, or I don't feel well. So there's your answer.
Very
Water.
good tip. All right, the memorable sports moment that every time you hear it or see it, it makes you smile or even laugh.
Oh, there's a million of them. Do
are.
I have to be personally involved in that?
No.
Okay. I would say every Masters that I watched in my youth, it inspired me, it drove me. It completely overtook me. I wanted to be one of those voices watching that tournament. I wanted to see what it looked like. I didn't care about being on television. Still don't. It's the joy of being a storyteller, and especially there. It's the greatest canvas for anyone who is a commentator, is to try to paint the right words that blend in beautifully with the greatest course and greatest tournament in the world.
All right, your favorite view anywhere other than Pebble Beach is where?
My favorite view anywhere. Okay, you're saying Pebble Beach golf links because you know I would say
excluded. Can't you? It's too easy. That's too easy of an answer.
that's
for
too
you.
easy. Well, I'm my favorite view in the world, the one that maybe brings me the most joy, is being on top of the tee of my replica hole at my home in Pebble Beach. So that's why I was asking for a qualifier. You know, I have
Fair.
that replica hole of number 7, and it looks out over Carmel Bay, and I've had so many wonderful times there. Raised millions of dollars for charity up there, charity events I've had at my property, and I've had all kinds of interesting and fascinating and wonderful people come up and give it their best shot to try to make a hole-in-one and land on the Rock of Fame that I have up there. It brings me tremendous joy, is the view from the tee. Where your friend Tom Brady and Peyton Manning did their epic show together from the top of the tee. So that would be it.
All right. I told you when this was going to happen, I was hoping you could be a part of this in week 1. Thank you for doing this. I look forward to seeing you soon enough. Have a great call this weekend.
Gary, I'm so stoked about you being back right here where we are today. You are a vital part of our game. Bless you, my friend.
Thanks, Jim.
I look forward to returning sometime soon.
Thanks so much. Jim Nantz.
Thank you.
CBS Sports. He will be on Bills and Broncos this weekend. We come back 10 minutes before the top of the hour. Back after this. It is 54 minutes past the hour. Good to have you with us on this Tuesday. Golf Channel is going to celebrate their 30th anniversary today. And I remember I was a golf professional when it was born, and I was like, God, I'm going to love this. But I didn't know how sustainable it was. And by the way, it's only as sustainable as all the other great things that exist in the ecosystem of golf, like Pinehurst, who is a proud partner here at 5 Clubs, and we thank them, the cradle of American golf. If you want to go and stay and play at some of the great properties, you go to Pinehurst and the Pinehurst Resort. It's always a great day at Pinehurst. Golf Channel's 30. 30. They had the temerity back in 1995 to say, you know what, we're going to go 24/7. And look, that happened because of Tim Neer and Joe Gibbs and Arnold Palmer. And I know that Golf Channel this afternoon at 4 p.m. Eastern is going to have a special Golf Central to celebrate their 30th anniversary. I came to Golf Channel in their 16th year when they did something no other sports network had done either. They were the first to go 24/7. They were then the first to go with a live morning show. 30 today. Very proud to be back in some small way on this amazing platform, the network of record in the game. We take a break, we come back, get you set for tomorrow. Big guest, we explain, back after this. We are back a couple minutes before the top of the hour. We thank again our presenting sponsor, Century Insurance, right by you with Century. Tomorrow, Gabby Herzig is going to join us from The Athletic. She had some great reporting on potential changes to the Tour Championship. She is one of the really great young reporters covering the game of golf. Taylor Zarzour is going to join us as well. Of course, he is the host of The Starter on SiriusXM. If you can't watch us on Golf Channel, you can listen to us on the PGA Tour Radio Network. We appreciate that very much. And finally, Bryson DeChambeau is going to be on the program tomorrow. You think there's some stuff to talk to him about? It's amazing the transformation that he has had. And I personally believe that nobody has benefited more from going over to live than him. And for various reasons. I'm going to ask him if he agrees with that and why. Not to mention the Ryder Cup in 2025. And is it possible a live player or a PGA Tour player could play on either tour before the end of this year? And also building an audience in a digital world, which he has done expertly. Bryson DeChambeau, Gabby Herzig, Taylor Zarzour with me tomorrow right here on 5 Clubs on Golf Channel. Happy 30th anniversary to Golf Channel special Golf Central special at 4 p.m. Eastern. For all of us here at 5 Clubs, have a great Tuesday. We'll see you tomorrow.